How's it going, y'all? TitansFan920, and today we're here with some Throne of Eldraine standard discussion, as well as talk about the top 8 decks that are rotating in standard here. We're going to be looking at MTG to look at the top 8 metagame decks of the format, and talk about what is leaving the format, what is going away with rotation, and whether some of these decks will survive, or whether they are gone to the ashes. Let's go! First deck we're going to talk about today is Bantscape Shift. You gotta be living under a rock, or, maybe in a field of dead people to not know about Bantscape Shift. But Bantscape Shift didn't become a thing right up until M20, but Field of Dead's printing made that card happen. When you look at the deck, it's weird because it doesn't lose a lot of pieces. However, one of those cards is Scape Shift that it loses. So when you lose the hallmark card of your deck is going to die. No more Scape Shifts means no more Bantscape Shift. You also lose Elvish Rejuvenator, which was not a player in Standard for a long time, but it kind of came into its own at the very end of this. I'm kind of glad because it's a card that I've always been a ramp fan, so see the card, I've always enjoyed it. It's just never really had a place in Standard. So Rejuvenator, my friend, you were a good, fair card. We thank you for your service, even though I hated Bantscape Shift. But no worries to you guys who love Bantscape Shift. There'll still be Field of Dead shenanigans with Yarok, I believe. That deck is primed and ready to do well in Standard as it looks like right now. But Bantscape Shift will be a thing no more. Goodbye, friend. Next deck we're going to talk about today is Katha's Combo, or 4-Color Legends, or whatever you want to call it. For anyone not aware of this deck, you use Kethis and Mox Amber and some other tools here, Diligent Excavator, and you try to mill your opponent or yourself. The ones with self-mill will have a Jace in them usually, but you're just trying to mill yourself or mill your opponent with a bunch of just janky cards. With this deck, Diligent Excavator leads the format, which is a pretty big deal for it because Diligent Excavator was like the big engine to really start the mill combo and get it going. Mox Amber, though, is the biggest loss here. Without Mox Amber, this deck just dies completely. I would be surprised if Katha shows up in some other decks just because it is a solid card and reasonable, but as far as the shenanigans here, it'll go away. Teshar also leaves. That was another piece of the combo. Kind of like before Kethis came along, people tried to do the same thing with Teshar, but it was a little bit janky and mopey. So now, with Kethis, the deck's kind of coming to its own. And lastly, Urza's Ruinous Blast. Didn't see a lot of play in Standard. I tried to make it work, and it never really did, but this deck loses a lot of pieces to it, and especially losing Mox Amber will kill the deck. So that's 0 for 2 on deck staying around. Katha's Combo, dead. Next up we're going to talk about is Esper Control or Esper Hero. Kind of looping these two together because they are pretty similar to each other. And as you'll see on the screen, it does not lose a lot of cards. Give a special shout out here to Vrassic Contempt, possibly leaving. But Sorcerer's Cant is really the big one that goes away. It's an enchantment that I've used plenty in my time in Standard through various different control decks. I've really enjoyed Sorcerer's Canta. But at the same time, I'm ready for it to leave. It's kind of stayed its course here. Y'all know how bad it feels to see a flip Scanta, the Sunken Ruin on their battlefield. It's not good. Also, another card that's rotating, you guys may have heard of it. 5-mana Planeswalker, it's a Fairy Hero Dominaria. I know that one kind of slid under the radar. Not a lot of people even know of that card, but apparently it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Goodbye, it's Fairy. You won't be missed. So, on the other end of the spectrum here, we have Mono Red. Mono Red loses about everything in the deck. It loses Get Through, Lava Runner. It loses Lightning Strike, Viashino Pyromancer, Fanatical Firebrand, and Wizard's Lightning all go bye-bye. Goblin Chain Whirler gone. You would think that would kill a deck, losing most of its pieces, but it's Mono Red. For those of you who have not been around the Standard, Mono Red doesn't die. You think you've killed it, you think you have it off the map, but you don't. It comes back every time. The current iteration of Mono Red that we know, we don't really love it, but we know of, it will die. But another one will take its place, such as life, so it goes. Cecil shock you for 3. On the opposite end of the spectrum, once again, for a deck that really doesn't lose a lot of things, we have Boros / Naya Feather. I'll loop these two together because they have the same kind of tools here. Deck really loses 3 cards. It loses, on the creature side, it loses the Danto Vanguard. Danto was a great creature for this deck, being able to give itself indestructible, so you could do all kinds of things with it was great. And it's a piece that will definitely be missed. It's also going to be missed in other decks, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But a Danto Vanguard, leaving its place in Naya Feather, it'll need to be filled, that hole somewhere. Lightly played a little bit with Sheltering Light as well. Sheltering Light will be gone. Now that God's Willing is here, that's not a huge deal, I don't think, but some decks still play Sheltering Light. But man, oh man, Reckless Rage. Reckless Rage is gone, and for anybody who's played against that on the other side of the table when an opponent has a feather out, you'll be glad as heck to see that thing gone. Reckless Rage is wonderful in this deck. It was a way to buff your creatures if you had a 10th Usher's Legion there. It was a way to just keep recurring removal every turn, and it just felt unbeatable sometimes in creature decks. So I'm sure a lot of people are happy to see this go. You feathered players, myself included, we're kind of sad to see it go, but no more it is. Goodbye, my friend. 3 more decks to go here, and one of the big ones that came up in M20 that we kind of figured would is Orzhov, black-white, black-white vampires. As you see here on the screen, we have Knight of the Ebon Legion, we have Legion's End, we have Mortify, and Sorin. All these cards are leaving. Actually, those are the only cards in the whole deck that are staying. Every other main deck card, minus the lands and sideboard cards, are gone. This is all you have left to work with. So look at this right here. Unless you think you can make a deck out of these cards right here, Vampires is dead. It had its place, it had its time in the sun while it could in Standard. Was short-lived. If you spent wild cards on it, I hope it was worth it. It was a good deck. And I think a deck like this is really fair in a healthy format like this. Not that this format's healthy, but a deck like this makes for a healthy format. I think just good, solid creature-based value decks are good without doing degenerate things. So I'll kind of miss Vampires, even though I played against it. It's beat me multiple times, but I think it was a deck that was great for the format, so I'll kind of miss it being around. Second to last here, we have Golgari Citadel. This one kind of came up late. Reed Duke brought this into existence, I do believe. As you see here, it used a big part of the Explore package to make this work. So the Explore package itself doesn't just go with Golgari Citadel. When you think of Golgari mid-range back in the day, when you think of Sultai mid-range when it was in his heyday, the Explore package was great and really helped out a lot. Also losing cards like Ravenous Chupacabra and Vivian Reed, just a solid value engine that I'll personally be very glad to see gone. But for those of you unaware, Golgari Citadel, Bolson Citadel will still be around, but without an Explore package and ways to gain life off of your Wildgrowth Walkers, I just don't see this working. So Command the Dreadhorde also suffers from this, even though it's still staying around. The ones that use the Explore package are, Explore's gone now. I'm glad to see Explore gone. I never played with many of the cards for Explorer. I always hated playing against them a lot of the times. So goodbye, my friend. See you never. And last, and least, Simic Nexus. I am so glad to see the Simic Nexus gone. Nexus of Fate was a terrible card. I hate Nexus of Fate. I hate this whole deck. I hate you if you play it. I hate your mama if you play. I don't actually hate all of you or anything like that. But I'm glad Nexus of Fate is gone. I'm glad Root Snare is gone. Opt and Kenderson's Insight, they served their purpose. Like I said, I'll miss his Canta away deep down in my heart, but this deck was degenerate. The lines of play that it had were degenerate, and it just, I just get tilted talking about it. So I am so glad it's gone. So that's it with all the decks rotating here. That's the top 8 meta decks we have. Some will survive, some will not. One thing that I didn't mention, but I think it is important, is to talk about the land and the mana base here. Check lands are rotating here, so even though we still have our shock lands, which are wonderful, losing out these check lands is going to hurt. So I think everybody trying to run these 3-color strategies, it's not going to be as easy. We've been a little bit spoiled by the wonderful mana base we've had this Standard, and we're gonna come to see some changes here, I believe. I think we're going to go to more of a 2-color or maybe a monocolored meta for a little bit. It just seems like right now it's a little bit risky to be going 3-color with the mana that's out there. But I'm looking forward to new Standards. Some of the spoilers we've seen this week have been pretty fantastic, and I may talk about those later. But I got my brewing cap on already. Just want to say goodbye to my friends who are rotating. See you never, hopefully, for some of you. And let's get those brewing caps on. Throne of Eldraine Standard about to come up. If you're new here, subscribe, stay around a while. I appreciate you watching.